Hey guys, this is Kevin from JazTime.com, and today we'll be comparing the Rolex SUBMARINER Diver's Watch, reference number 116610, and this is going to be compared against the Rolex Cosmograph DAYTONA, reference number 116520. Okay, and we'll be going over the price, the dial, the bezel, the case, the crown, the bracelets, the clasp, and we'll talk about the movements and a couple of special features about these watches. Okay, so the price as of November 2016 for the SUBMARINER, it currently retails for $88,550, but you can buy this watch for as low as $7,700 at JazTime.com. For the Cosmograph DAYTONA, it currently retails for $12,000, but as of mid-November 2015, this watch has been discontinued to make way for that new ceramic bezel Cosmograph DAYTONA, reference number 116500. You can check these both out at JazTime.com, but the current price of this one is $14,500 brand new. Okay, so we'll be comparing the. So moving on, we're going to go ahead and compare the dials now. So the dials, they both run a black dial, but the SUBMARINER's dial has the maxi dial, which means that these dial markers, these circular with the index dial markers at the 6, 9, and 12 position, are 30% larger than the normal Rolex markers. Okay, comparing this to the DAYTONA's dial, which has small little index markers, but they're very tiny and the readability isn't as great. As you can see that these index markers are almost like half the size of the index markers on the SUBMARINER, and they fill around, and that's because most of the space of the DAYTONA is being taken up by these additional sub-dials. The left one here tracking the 12-hour cycle. The bottom one here tracking a 60-second cycle, and the one on the right here, the 3 o'clock position, is tracking a 30-minute cycle, and that takes up most of the space on the DAYTONA's dial. For the SUBMARINER's, it's very simple, just keeps those index markers and just has the date on the 3 o'clock position with that Cyclops lens. One thing to note there is that the Cyclops lens sits on top of the sapphire crystal. As you can see there, the DAYTONA's crystal is nice and flat, while the SUBMARINER's has pretty much the Cyclops lens looks like a protrusion on the sapphire crystal. Okay. As you can see, once again, referencing that maxi dial, the hands are additionally a little bit larger than the DAYTONA hands. As you can see, the thickness of that minute hand is just a slightly bit thicker, but you can definitely have more readability on that SUBMARINER. And as you can see, the hour hands are different as well, as SUBMARINER's has this circular hour hand compared to the DAYTONA's just simple single hour hand there. Okay, so let's go ahead and compare the bezels now. So the bezels, the SUBMARINER's has a black ceramic Cerachrome bezel, and the index markers along with the Arabic numerals are coated in a platinum, which is very nice. The ceramic itself is very scratch resistant and very durable. However, it can crack. It can crack if damaged very roughly. That is kind of a problem, as the ceramic bezel is very expensive to replace. It's running around $1,500 or so just to replace a ceramic bezel. Okay, and the DAYTONA's bezel has a tachymetre engraved around, and it's just a very nice high polished bezel. However, it can be scratched and damaged very easily. It's nothing compared to the SUBMARINER's ceramic bezel, which is very scratch resistant. The DAYTONA's on the other side of the spectrum, and can be scuffed up very easily. But it is very nice, has a very good shine to it. Okay, there's one thing I do want to note about the SUBMARINER's bezel though. I'll go ahead and show you the feature of this black ceramic bezel is that it has a 60 minutes graduated all around the bezel. And the use of that is, let's just say, let me go ahead and move the time to demonstrate this a little bit better. Okay. And I'll show you how the crown works after this. Okay, so the bezel, let's just say it's currently, the minute hand is at between the 50 and the 55 minute mark at the moment. So what the bezel calculates for is elapsed time. So let's just say the original purpose of this is for diving. So let's just say you go diving underwater and you want to check how long you've been underwater. The minute hand will, of course, you just have to adjust that index or that little triangle marker down to the minute hand, and the minute, however much time has elapsed, will track. If it comes up at the 10, then it'll be somewhere towards the 10. It will kind of look like that. And that 10 minutes have passed. It is only unidirectional. As you can see, I can go to the left, but I can't go to the right, and that's because they didn't want any mishaps. If you're trying to track your oxygen, if you're underwater, and if you accidentally, moved it backwards, and then you miscalculate how much oxygen you have, that could be deadly. But however, for the normal consumers of the everyday world, what you could also use this for is, let's just say, the parking meter. You park your car there. You have 5 minutes for that meter. You could easily track that as well. So let me go ahead and reset this real quick. Okay. So let's go ahead and compare the cases now. So the case, as you can see, they both have very nice, sleek cases. The Submariner's case is a 40 millimeter case, and the Daytona is also a 40 millimeter case, and that's checking in diameter. So from my thumb to my index finger there, that's the size of 40 millimeters. Same with the Daytona. The profile. Here is the side profiles of these two watches. Okay, they're very similar. There's only a very slight amount of difference between the two. The Submariner's is a 12.7, while the Daytona's is 12.2. Not too noticeable, but is mainly distinguished by the bezel here. This Daytona is definitely more for that casual wear, as this will slip under a suit cuff very nicely. As you can see, the bezel on this one is kind of fluted, so it might, if it gets caught in something, it might, might damage the clothing. But it's still they both fit very nicely under a suit cuff, and overall keep a very nice low profile. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the bracelets now. So here are the bracelets. As you can see, very nice tapering of the bracelets. The Submariner keeps a satin finish throughout the whole bracelet. As you can see, the center portion is all satin finish as well. However, the Daytona's, you see, it only has a satin finish on the outer portion of the links, while the center runs a very beautiful high polish. The high polish patterns very nicely with that high polish on that bezel and travels all the way down. And the durability is not to be. The durability is very, very good. It's made out of Rolex's in-house 904L steel. So this bracelet, the case, this bezel is all made of that 904L steel, which is much stronger than the industry standard of that 316L steel. Okay. One thing to note about this high polish though is it shines very much more reflective, and it's just overall gives the bracelet a much more prominent position. As you can see, it shines much more brightly, much more reflectively. However, as I mentioned about the bezel, this can be scuffed up very easily as well. So a satin finish on a Submariner is very nice in terms of hiding those scuffs, while the Daytonas won't hide those scuffs as well. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the class now. As you can see, these are the class. Very noticeable that the Daytona's class is much smaller than the Submariner's class. but they both have the same overall idea. They both run a safety oyster lock feature, which I'll go ahead and demonstrate on one of these. Okay, so right here, as you can see, this is the safety. It's this little hinge right here that sits on top of the folding oyster. Bam. Very simple, very easy to use. Has a Rolex name engraved on one of the clasp blades there. Closes very easily like that. There is one thing I want to mention that the Submariner has over the Daytona is this easy to use glide lock feature. So what is the glide lock feature? Well, I'm going to show you. So you go ahead and pop the bracelet out through the back of the clasp there. And you can adjust in 2mm increments up to 20 millimeters. So let me go ahead and show you the front. You can adjust that bracelet for up to 20 millimeters. And what that allows you to do is, if it's a hot day, your wrist swells up, and you just need that extra breathing space, this glide lock extension feature works wonders. The main usage for it though was because this is a diver's watch, this would fit in a wetsuit. And you would want to adjust the bracelet over the wetsuit and give your wrist a little more breathing space. Okay. One thing to keep in mind for the normal everyday consumer though is if you decide to pass this watch down or give it as a gift, it takes out the need for a jeweler to have to remove a link or add an additional link to size to the wrist. So it's very helpful, easy to have, as one link costs anywhere from $150 or more. So it saves you a good bit of money. So this is a Daytona's class. It has that keeps that nice high polish running across the center there. Like I said, it works the same way. This is a safety right here, and this right here is the folding clasp. It has a satin finished on its clasp blade here with that Rolex embossed right there. Very nice. However, the Daytona's class can't do the same thing as the Submariners. It has a comfort extension link, meaning that it can only adjust 5 millimeters inward or 5 millimeters outward. And what that allows for is the ability to give your wrist a little more breathing space. So this is how it is adjusted outwards. Okay, and that gives your wrist a little bit more breathing space in terms of if it gets hot and your wrist swells, and that's what the comfort extension link allows you to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the movements now. I'm going to go ahead and start with the Submariners first. Okay, so this is the Submariner's case back. It's a simple oyster case back, and it houses the 3135 movement, which is made up of 31 jewels and 220 components to allow for that simple tracking of time and that quick set date feature, which I'll show you later on in the video. Additionally, the power reserve of the Submariner is 48 hours. It is COSC certified, and it also is a superlative chronometer. What that means is that at the bottom here of the Rolex dial, we have the superlative chronometer. The chronometer is a COSC certification of that -4 + 6 seconds gain or loss daily. While the superlative means it's a Rolex in-house testing of their movement, which is to the -2 or +2 daily gain or loss or gain. So the timekeeping on these Rolex watches are very, very strict, and it's just overall very good to know that Rolex does additional testing after that COSC testing, because some companies just do the COSC testing. I believe only Omega at the moment does their own in-house testing as well, which is the coaxial. But anyways, that's a different subject. For the Daytona, the Daytona uses the 4130 movement, made up of 44 jewels or 201 different components. As you can see, it's a simple oyster case as well. And it allows for those different subdials subdials to function, and this one has a power reserve of 72 hours, which is much more than the Submariner's power reserve. Meaning that you can put this watch down on a Friday, you can pick it up on Monday, and it'll still be going, and you wouldn't have to wind it. So it's pretty good. I also want to talk about the water resistance of the Submariner. The water resistance of the Submariner is 300 meters or 1,000 feet. Of course, that's because it's a diver's watch. The Daytona only keeps a water resistance of 100 meters at 330 feet. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about a couple of special features now. So the Submariner has the feature of that bezel that I showed you earlier. I also want to show you the quick set date feature, which is adjusted by the crown here. As you can see, the crown pops up after you unwind it. This is the hand winding position, which allows you to wind the watch manually. Pulling out the crown once more, we'll set it to the date setting mode. As you can see there, very easy, very simple to use date setting feature, and that's because of that 3135 movement. It allows for the easy access of adjusting the date however you like, however quickly you'd like. And you don't have to move the hour hands in 2 revolutions just to change the date once. Okay, so it's very nice. For the Daytona, for Daytona's feature, it features a chronograph pusher at the top here at the 2 o'clock position, while featuring another chronograph pusher at the bottom here at the 4 o'clock position, and with the crown at the 3 o'clock position. The crown just allows for a simple adjustment of winding the watch and adjustment of the hands. These chronograph features are what makes the Daytona, the Cosmograph Daytona, you know, what it is. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that. Okay, so as you can notice, at that 12 o'clock position, we still have this slender hand here, and that is the second hand, but it's only activated by this top chrono pusher here. So let's go ahead and activate that. As you can see now, the hour hand is moving around. With another press of this 2 o'clock chrono pusher, let me just let it go past the minute hand here, and bam, pressing it again stops a chrono pusher. So a revolution of this chrono pusher, a revolution of the second hand adds a tick to the 30-minute subdial here on the right. 2 revolutions of that 30-minute subdial will add an hour, a tick in the hour for this 12-hour subdial here on the left. Okay, and the main little back history for that is that the chronograph was invented for tracking horse laps. So let's just say your horse just completed its lap, you wrote down the time, let's say 15 seconds, that's a really fast horse, but let's just say it's 15 seconds. You can reset it with this bottom chronograph pusher down here. And it'll reset that 30-minute dial, that 12-hour dial, and the second hand back to the top there. And then you can go ahead and track the next horse lap. Very simple, very easy to use. And you can also, like the bezel on the Submariner, you can also use it to track the parking meter time. Just hit that and just let it run. Of course, one thing to note is that you cannot reset that time back to the beginning once it's in motion. As you can see there, so you try to press it, it won't let you reset it. So you always have to stop, reset. Okay. Always, of course, make sure that these pushers are snug and tight once you're done using them, as you want to keep the water resistance of the watch. You don't want any water to be able to get into the watch. Okay, so now let me show you these watches on the wrist. So pop that open, pop that open. So once again, that folding, that safety. Very simple, very easy to use. Oops. Bam, bam, very nice. So that's the Submariner. Very nice. Let me get the Daytona on now. This one's a little smaller, so bear with me here. Okay, so bam. It's very simple, very easy. Look at that. The high polish really stands out on this watch. Okay. All right, so for whatever you just decide, it really is just a matter of taste and what you plan on doing with the watch. And I really hope this comparison helped you see the similarities and differences between the Submariner and the Daytona. If you're looking for a more sporty, durable watch that just has simple time tracking, go with the Submariner. It's very nice. It's Rolex's flagship model. It's just overall very great, and made out of that 904L steel of the in-house from Rolex. It has a nice scratch resistance with that satin finish, that ceramic bezel. Overall, you can't go wrong with the Submariner. It even works well with casual wear as well, and it's just so recognizable. Okay, but if you're looking for something more flashy, but not as durable, go with the Daytona. The Daytona, the dial looks very nice. Even with those sub dials taking up most of that space, it really adds more to that face, and it just looks very nice overall. The high polish on the bezel really shines out with that, matching that pattern of that high polish going down the bracelet as well. It's just very beautiful overall. Okay, but like I said, for whatever you decide, check out our prices at JazTime.com. That's JazTime.com. We'll have direct links to the watches in the description below. We have the lowest prices guaranteed. We offer free shipping and a 1-year warranty. If you liked the video and you want to see more, please like, comment, and subscribe below. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys soon.